Ladies and gentlemen, if you thought the fireworks had been going off on Sportswire Radio all summer, the summer doesn't end until our guest tonight, who has literally pretty much done it all. If you're somebody that's been a fan of UK pro wrestling, he has been at it since 2009. He has wrestled a who's who of people that have A, come on Sportswire Radio, and B, who are about to come on Sportswire Radio. Q for yet another announcement for that. He's also been in the ring with some legends, some Hall of Famers, and he's also done some pretty cool things in his own right because he was the first ever Scottish Tag Team Triple Crown champion. They call him the Scottish Savage, the Glasgow Gladiator, but you're also going to see him even in places like Denmark and, oh, by the way, our friends in CCW Carnage Championship Wrestling. I'll get to that and more and some. He needs no further introduction, but because this is the first time he's on solo, he's got to get that introduction that everybody else has gotten, and I guarantee on any other podcast he's done, he's never going to get this introduction again. So with that, without further ado here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. They call him the Scottish Savage.
Yes.
You've got a lot of these, and I know you've been here before, but I know for a fact you haven't got one of those yet.
Never in my
And you
life.
probably won't again, by the way, Davey Blaze. I guarantee that.
Mate, it was actually one of the best introductions I've ever had in my near enough 15 year
If you're saying that, of all people, you've wrestled in front of thousands, you've wrestled world champions.
I've been in arenas, countries, you name it. And that was...
You're pretty much, like I said, you're pretty much like the Johnny Cash, I've been everywhere, man. But I know we sort of know each other. We've done one of these before, but it is certainly a tremendous honor once again to have you. But for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, let's talk about the current events first, because we're going to see you in Denmark next weekend. So for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, let's talk about it.
So, September 10th, myself, my trainer, Kid Fight, are the team captains for Premier British Wrestling. Underneath us, we will be going out to face Dance Pro Wrestling. DPW will be Logan Smith, the prize fighter Dean Ford, and Angel Hayes. So we'll be going out there, and we'll be definitely whipping some ass, and we'll be going sightseeing and everything else. But I think that'll be like my 5th or 6th time traveling out to Denmark to go and wrestle.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I know you were there earlier this year and you've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah,
and
it was,
what's it like there? I mean, what's it like there? Go ahead.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's one of the most cleanest, tidiest countries that I've ever been in ever in my life. And it is. It's really beautiful. I mean, it's like I'm a big sucker for like sightseeing, the views, and like construction work and like buildings and stuff like that. And honestly, it's amazing. Like I love the place. My second favorite place that I've been to wrestle in is Milan in Italy.
Oh wow, okay. I just saw Equalizer 3 and it's set in Italy, so it's so funny that you said Italy, Milan, Italy.
Yeah, big Denzel Washington.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the movie. I won't spoil that, but obviously Italy and Denmark, I mean, these are places, I mean, I'm in New York, and I look at, when I hear these places, I'm so fascinated. So I mean, how do you kind of keep focused, knowing that you're hearing a big show coming up next weekend? I know you've been here a few times in Denmark, but how do you stay focused, get prepared, go and get ready for the travel, but then also be here for business? Because obviously you got a lot on your plate. You're here with somebody that you've got a relationship for going on 15 years with in Kid Fitty, and talk about that for the audience.
Well, it's like staying focused, obviously, like, God, I've been doing it nearly 15 years, and I know I keep saying that, but it's like you have to keep telling yourself stuff like that. Because to me, it just seemed like yesterday I started wrestling training, do you know what I mean? So it was...
and you started at a young age. You were like 15, I think, right?
Yeah,
when you first started?
I started at 15 years old. I mean, October 8th coming up, I will be turning 30.
Well, my birthday is October 7th. What a small world.
Hey, brother, that's... Getting back to like staying focused and stuff like that, and obviously like dealing with business, like coming on Sportzwire Radio live tonight. Do you know, it's just one of these things. It's part and parcel of the job. I mean, you need to be in the gym. You need to keep fit. You need to obviously... I mean, it's like we were actually talking like right now. I'm doing Welsh wrestling camp run. And Saturday and Sunday coming up is like the last of the run, and it was like a 10-week run. Okay, so it was like during that 10-week run, I mean, most of the time that I learned my stuff on the camp run was all-star wrestling. I mean, your next guest is one of my friends, one of the guys that I've wrestled, D. Milmer.
Yep. Oh, I'm gonna get to him. I'm gonna definitely get to him.
So it was like your craft, like learning how to be a professional wrestler. Like, the only place to learn that is on the camp season run. And I mean, that could be anywhere, but the most famous place was All-Star Wrestling on the late Brian Dixon, who tragically passed. But it was like, that was where I learned how to become a professional wrestler. Like, to what I am today was All-Star Wrestling. I mean, obviously, like, when you're busy and other things like that, you've got your independent bookings. So it was like, you'll go and you'll do like other shows, you'll go and do towns and stuff like that. And it was so weird because we were talking about this, me and Kid Fight were talking about this, who's my tuner. We're talking about this Wednesday night. We finished a show in Morecambe Holiday Park, and we were playing Monopoly of all board games. And I trust you, the man is a tycoon. I mean, a legit, serious, like, hard hustling tycoon. I just gave up, to be honest. But it was like, I was like, he was literally saying to me like the term making towns, and I was like, making towns, and I was like, But it was like, I took and I said to one of the boys, I was like, he's like, oh, I get so, it was Logan Smith. He says, I get so stressed because he had to do a camp. And then from the camp, he had to go and do Pro Tour wrestling. And it was like, because, don't get me wrong, he arrived late, but he was on, like, kind of more on the card. So he was on time, but it was like, just because it was the first time he's ever done that, he kind of gets stressed out. And I'd said to him, I says, like, that stresses you, think about what I went through. I mean, I didn't stress out about it, but it was like, it was like nerve-wracking. Like, the whole saying that Kid Fight was said to me, that making towns, comes from basically like travelling. I travelled from Inverness with TG Rage, from doing the Belladrum Festival, all the way through to Pro Wrestling Elite in Ayr to do a tag match when Chris Travis had come back from defeating the bowel cancer. And that was Chris Travis's first and last match back in Scotland, and it was me and TJ that were wrestling him and Luke King Sharp in a tag match. And it's literally like we had to like still be in our wrestling gear, get in the car at the Belladrum in Inverness, drive literally like 5-6 hours to Ayr.
Wow! Oh my God! I mean, I hear stories all the time from guys, but to just basically still be in ring gear and then go to the next show and have to drive for 5 hours—that's intense. I mean, that is intense.
And brother, this is where it comes in, is like making towns, becoming a worker. Like, even if you don't have chemistry with somebody, right? We had to go out there and call a match. and it was like boom, 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 boom. It was like, you know, like it was like call on the spot. And but because obviously like, we have got the chemistry, which is great. The match would have came off, but it's like it's not the first time that I've had to go and do that in my career. But it's like you're calling
But that's
things
still
off.
gotta be difficult. I mean, I know you've done this a long time. I know you're kind of like the definition of a professional wrestler, a pro, right? But to go somewhere, just go cold, drive. You did one show, right? You're gonna drive to the next one.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to go to a match where you don't get to sit with your opponent for an hour, 2 hours before the show. And then
like you literally meet your opponent.
You got to go
you
there.
literally meet your opponent in the ring.
You got to go there basically and do it. And then just get in the ring. You're in your gear. And then like, that's that. I mean, that's really like it's almost like a doctor performing surgery, life or death surgery almost.
It's like blowing the glove, right? Bend over. Do you know what I mean? It's like
that's crazy. Well, I'll tell you, I want to say hello to some people here first before I come back to a few things. I want to say hello to It's Anarchy X, who says, yo. I want to say hello to the Baltimore Kid, who also has a birthday on October the 8th, and he turns 31. You're turning 30, I believe. So happy birthday to the both of you. I want to say hello to another wrestler, and James Marshall, of course. James Marshall was the WC Interstate Openweight Champion in the state of Wisconsin. He says hello to the both of us. Also, the Baltimore Kid says hello again. And James Marshall says, decided to pop in here and tune in while he's being escorted to tomorrow's show because he's wrestling tomorrow for Wrestling Championship Entertainment in Wisconsin. And he also said,
have a good one, brother, and stay safe.
Yes, and he also wants to point out, I've been in positions of calling a match on the spot. They can be hit and miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's like with the whole miss thing, he's absolutely right because Dean Allmark could possibly tell you the exact same. I mean,
I'm going to have him Monday. You kind of stole my thunder, but yes,
like,
yes.
So, like, I can remember it was like on the All-Star run, one of the Japanese guys that I was wrestling, because you wrestle like a whole mixture of guys on the All-Star run. It's like from Mexicans, Americans, Japanese guys, Scottish guys.
I have a guy I'm friends with who does the same thing in California. He wrestles guys like in Mexico, across the U.S., and it's the same run that you have, kind of same deal.
And it was like, the dude's class. He's like one of the boys. His name's Ake. And he comes out and he comes out and he remember the ninja game that you got from the PS1 called Tenchu?
Yes, I do. Like, yes, I do.
So
yes.
This dude was Japanese and he came out wearing the whole ninja get-up, but it was like built, man, and he was like, and I was like, God, man, I forgot the match. And I'm going to meet, and stupid me, right? I was like, oh, here we go. I'm going to call another match. And it was like, I was like, right, Aki, send after ropes, duckman, take a clothesline.
It's funny you said that because I was listening to something. I think it was Mr. Perfect, and it maybe was Shawn Michaels. And actually, Mr. Perfect went out there and they had gone over the match. I think it was for the Intercontinental title. No, it was Lex Luger and Mr. Perfect. It was Lex Luger, Mr. Perfect, WrestleMania 9. And Lex Luger was talking about the fact that they went over the match. They basically had everything in their head. Then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, Mr. Perfect, like an hour beforehand, said, hey, I forgot how we're going to go over the match. It was basically Lex Luger was actually the one that was kind of, in a way, calling the shots. And that's maybe why the match wasn't. It was. So it's kind of like the same thing that you went through there. And I have to say hello to somebody who was my guest Wednesday. And I know that you had a photo in recently because you guys technically work for the same company in Colory Championship Wrestling. You're via Carnage Championship Wrestling. And that is the Tribal Cheese himself. Yes. My good friends can't wait for a catch up with my good friend, the Scottish
Get up, you fucking cunt.
I was going to plead the fifth on the last part, but you know, I know that you and the Tribal Cheese were in a picture last month. I know you technically work for both the same promoter, Mr. James Barris. Is there anything that you might want to say about the Tribal Cheese himself?
The Tribal Cheese is a man. I mean, I've known Cheesy for a long time, like a long time, and it was like me and Cheesy go way back. The photo that were actually in. It's myself, Cheesy, and Tommy Jupiter.
Okay, yes, I saw that. Yes,
Top Rope Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Sheik Shams promotion.
Yes, I know.
So it was.
I know him very well.
Came back,
Sheik,
I was like,
sure.
mate. I was like, mate, what's happening? I was like, we need to get a photo. We need to get a photo. But the tribal cheese. I acknowledge.
Yes,
I acknowledge.
we definitely acknowledge him, and certainly I would love one day to see.
He's my boy. He's my boy, man.
Yeah, he's definitely one of our favorites, and I have to say that maybe one day I'd love to see you and the Tribal Cheese cross paths one day.
Oh, brother, woo! Making times, baby. Let's go for
that. Now, you know, I know that Mr. Barris is a businessman, and I know that Mr. Thatcher, who you have history with, is also a businessman. The gentleman thug, Ronnie Thatcher. I know you wrestled him a few years ago.
Ronnie Thatcher, I didn't actually wrestle him. I was supposed to. And obviously, like, I was supposed to be going down to
CCW.
CCW, yeah.
Right.
And it just get, obviously, like, I was running about the time where my son was just born as well. My son Leo.
I remember that. Sure.
It just kind of got, things get complicated and like just kind of mixed
up. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. I mean, so it was like, I had to like take a step back and like just kind of, so I said, like, me and James Barris, we get back in contact with each other. He's a great guy.
Yes, James is definitely big.
I mean, I've been keeping my eye on things happening at CCW. And it seems to be great. I mean, obviously, like, you've got guys like myself, you've got Johnny Storm. It's just like, I was going to say,
Johnny Storm's in CCW now. You know, I mean, that's like cream of the crop.
Yeah, and you've got Cheesy. Do you know what I mean? Like, so you've got these guys that are there that are now in CCW, that with all this experience and years put together. I mean, it's like you're talking like maybe just under the last century.
And I think also
like maybe 10, 20 years off a century.
Yeah, like, I think listen, Jam Dog's got a lot of experience. He's out there. You got
even Jam as well. Yeah.
The Jam has been around a long time. I had him on the show, before, and you got a nice roster there, and I'm really excited about that. And I do hope that Mr. Barris hears this, and maybe he would consider one day you and obviously the Tribal Cheese, because we would certainly like to acknowledge that match live on Sportswire Radio. And certainly Mr. Logan would like to say, talking about calling spots, if you can't wrestle or improvise during a match, then you shouldn't be in there.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, Cheese is right. I mean, sometimes, most of the time, 8% of the time, the match isn't going to go to the full kind of way it's planned. Sometimes, I'm a big believer in also working with the referee when you're in there. The referee is the timekeeper of the match, right? But he's also the third person, right?
Right, sure.
It's your working tool. So, for instance, if, as I said, if you forget something or the other guy has forgot, right? You sell and you work towards that referee. You work towards that referee and you tell that referee, okay, right, this is what's going to happen. You need to go make sure that he's okay. I'm going to distract the crowd. I'm going to work them. Come back and tell me he's okay. Once you do that, then tell him this is the spot that's going to happen. So, for example, I'd go, tell him to roll in the ring. I'm going to stomp him. I'm going to send him into the corner. I'm going to run him with a splash. You tell him to move out the road and then just kind of, boom, shine on me. I'll bump and feed. So the referee will then go over to the opponent that I'm fighting, will then tell him that, right? But it's if you are that good, or if you're good at following and you're comfortable and you're relaxed, then you'll know to follow that instruction from your peer that you're working in the ring, or the person that you're working in the ring. Do you know what I mean? It's the heel is the guy that's in charge of the match. So he's in control of the pace of the match. I mean, don't get me wrong, even faces have a say as well. But it's
sure.
So it's just one of those things. It's you need to call stuff. You need to know how to call stuff. But it's not just about calling stuff. It's the improvisation as well. So when you're calling something, you need to improvise your next thing to blind that from the crowd, so it's not noticeable.
And that's why it's also important that you do have some type of mindset that you're basically able to focus and being able to kind of block whatever you went through and to be able to go out there, because you're also dealing with the other person and their safety. So obviously you want to make sure everybody, I know there's obviously a lot of pain and physicality, but you also want to make sure that nobody gets more than seriously hurt here. And I do have some more comments. I want to say hello to another person that's up in training. That is Daniel Banner from GT Ministries. He's learning under Sean only. He's learning under his tree. So hopefully he continues that. Mr. Logan, who also is on YouTube at Mad Mank. So make sure you go and subscribe. He's almost up to 1,000 subscribers. And he's going to be on the show, I believe, Sunday with the Nemesis James Taylor. He says that Davey is a dream match, but I can't lock up with the fellow brother. So I guess that's kind of for now. For now, I guess we'll have to move that on. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say definitely say the same to Cheesy. Cheesy's my boy, man. I mean,
we love the tribal cheese on Sportswire. We definitely acknowledge him.
Hey, I'm a big cheese fan. I mean, cheese and crackers, cheese things. Wait, you name it, brother. You name it.
I believe that. No, knowing you, I've had you on before. I definitely kind of had that sense that would be the case. But I also have to ask you, you have a couple of shows coming up also, the 15th at PBW. And the other one, which I thought was so intriguing, we have a few, but October the 22nd at Pro 2 Wrestling, they did this whole big video about you. And it was almost like a movie they did about you. I mean, you got to talk about what we're going to see coming up on
Glasgow
PBW
Gladiator.
and then October 22nd. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Glasgow Gladiator thing is basically like Pro 2, so it was like what was originally meant to have happened with that, the reason it was called the Glasgow Gladiator, right, it was because the show in the UK had came back of the Gladiators, right? So they were doing auditions for the Gladiators, and they were doing auditions for contestants, so, but it's like you could like audition for a contestant or you can audition for the Gladiators. So I auditioned for a Gladiator. I was like, screw it, I'm going to go for it. So I sent my application form in, boom, get sent away, it get accepted, we get picked, and that was it. But then it was like after getting picked, you had to keep on doing audition processes. I kept getting called back, and there was audition processes and stuff like that. I actually announced that I get picked stupidly on Facebook, and it was my trainer, Kid Fight, that had told me, he's like, you need to take that down, because this was like way before they started making announcements. They were like, they would they obviously need to want to do that the publicity announcements themselves, but luckily, by the skin of my teeth, like they never came across the status because I already took it down. What had happened was they brought a firefighter in, and this firefighter dude, he was like 6'9", something ridiculous. He was an IFBB bodybuilder pro.
Oh wow! Okay.
And the guy was huge, tattoos. I mean, the guy looked like a gladiator, right? And they basically like went like they want his look on you, but it was like you need to look like him. So if you get what I'm saying, well, they told me that I need to look like him. It was like I went, So I was just like, boom, there you go. And I also know that from what I heard as well, Harley Hudson from the UK.
Yep.
She applied to be a contestant on the show, and they brought her back for an to the
I
audition
know her very
again.
well. I've covered her. Yeah. She's been in a few companies I've done work with, the LWF, Odyssey. Yeah, I know her very well.
Yeah, they brought her back to re-audition. They told her that she'd got a gig, and then just like kind of like patched her, but never like get back to her. Nothing. So that was the whole point where the Glasgow Gladiator thing came for Pro 2. So it was like I was talking to Cammy, promoter of Pro 2, and Cammy said, well, basically, fuck them, you're our Gladiator. So that was it. And then so moving forward with Pro 2, instead of the Scottish Savage, it's the Glasgow Gladiator. Which gives me something kind of cool to work towards, because I'm looking at like kind of current ideas for like new wrestling gear. That's like it's like the kind of gladiator gear, not too overboard, but it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like I said, the video, I really enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed the hype for that, and I hope that people go check it out. And very simple to follow, Davey Blaze. It's at Davey Blaze on all of his platforms like Facebook, Instagram. What's so great about our guest here, Davey Blaze? All you have to do is put his name on YouTube, and you get like match after match after match after match, and he's got thousands of views and thousands upon view after view, and he has wrestled some of the biggest people that have ever graced a foot in the ring here in the world of professional wrestling. And it is a tremendous honor to have him here once again. He is requested to come onto Sportswire. That tells you when Davey Blaze says, yeah, I want to come on to Sportswire, that certainly means a lot. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryson. Speaking of legends, Davey kind of stole my thunder at the beginning of the show. Dean Allmark. Jumping Dean Allmark. Dino himself is coming to Sportswire. It'll be 1 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock British Standard Time. Another guy that has requested to come on Sportswire Radio. I want to thank again Mr. Luke Leyland. And obviously, Mr. Leyland has been one of my big supporters. And I finally got his name right. He's going to kill me if I pronunciate it wrong one more time. But we've got Mr. Allmark, and Mr. Allmark is going to have a lot to say. He is going to talk about his past, his present, and his future. Another definition of a true professional wrestler, and that is Dean Allmark himself, and we're going to talk about that. And I have to ask you then, right off the top, Davey Blaze, give me some memories of Dean Allmark. Give me the good, bad, and the ugly. There's no ugly when it comes to Dean Allmark, so it's got to be all good.
There's not even any bad.
I know.
That's why Allmark, like that's like legit. Like, see, but the good thing, like, the good thing about Dean Allmark, right? I can remember years and years ago, like way before. Now, I done my first camp run, right? Mm-hmm. It was for a company called, it was Billy Boy Briggs, right?
Okay.
And he was like basically like he ran his own camp run, right, for so many years. And my trainer Ross had got me onto this. Right, so it was like me, Noam Dar, who's one of my other good friends, who's in WWE currently right now. Chris Rampage, Stevie Xavier, Keely Ray's husband.
You had a lot of history with both those guys, I know for sure.
So me and Stevie done the Bucky Boys in ICW, quite famous tag team. And it was like we done the Billy Boy Briggs camp run, right? So it was like Haggerson Castle, Seaton Sands, Berwick, Craig Tara, Lakelands, right? But Billy Boy Briggs lost the gig kind of years later. And the late Brian Dixon had come in, All-Star Wrestling owner, and like kind of got the Haven contracts for the Haven Holiday Park run. So for it wasn't actually until maybe I was 3 years in to like my official like boom clean wipe the slate with the camp run. That if you want to learn, you want to like earn your kind of years, because you're like you're in a whole different like backyard. Like that's what I get told. It was like when you come into All-Star Wrestling, you respect it. You're in a different backyard. You're in these guys' backyard, so you respect it, and you kind of listen, keep your mouth shut, keep your ears open, listen at all times, do as you're told, and basically don't fuck up, don't fucking step out of line. That was it. It was no whipped cream. It wasn't. I was just told the way it was, right? So it was like
that's referring to the last time with the wet cream. The cream you talked about the last time.
No,
you think I didn't?
No,
that was the last time you came on here.
That was soda cream.
Whatever it was, you talked about it then. We're not going to bring it up again.
No.
A memorable moment. In my 5 years of doing this, I've interviewed professional athletes. I've interviewed politicians. I've interviewed thousands of wrestlers. You name them. That's probably one of the more memorable moments of my career. Actually, Tribal Cheese was basically kind of almost poking fun at me because I interviewed Prince Dagan. Maybe Dagan and you. That's the two most memorable moments.
Yeah, but it was like it was like I think it was like 2 or 3 years I was in my camp, my official kind of all-star camp run, right? And I can remember I was talking to Noam Dar. Like Noam Dar was at, and this is before. This is when Billy Boy Briggs lost the camps, right?
Sure.
So it was like the first kind of camp run. Ross Watson, who was in charge of the Scottish All-Star camp run, right?
Okay.
He basically, Brian got in contact with Ross Kid Fight and basically said, right, you're going to be in charge of the Scottish run. I've got other people that are doing like kind of Bognor, Minehead, all the other ones down south. You're going to be doing Craig Tara, you're going to be doing Hagerson Castle, you're going to be doing Berwick, you're going to be doing Seaton Sands and Lakeland's run up in Scotland. So every week, what would happen with Brian every year that I done it, Brian would send up every week because you done it for 9 weeks. So, like, obviously here in the UK, people, obviously, like the English schools and the Scottish schools have 2 different kind of holiday term semesters. So basically, up in Scotland, it's like when the kids finish for up the summer holidays, they finish up for 7 weeks. But our camp run is 9 weeks. So it's like an extra two weeks, right?
Okay.
So every week, Brian Dixon would send up an English car, right, full of wrestlers. But the wrestlers that were in that English car, you know, there would have been guys that worked for WCW, there would have been guys that worked for WWE, there would have been guys from Mexico, guys from Japan.
I get it. I see these all the time.
Yeah.
They'll bring together a big show, convention. For the Love of Wrestling does that kind of now. Yeah.
So it was like, I heard that Dean Allmark was coming up. And obviously I knew who Dean was. And I didn't even, I kind of met him, get introduced to him at indie shows by Ross, the likes of Lionheart, Liam Thompson, BT Gunn and stuff like that. But it was like, I was like, oh God, I'm so nervous. Am I going to wrestle him? It would be cool to wrestle Dean Allmark. Wow, fucking yes. And mate, so like, boom, I'll never forget it, mate. It was Hagerson Castle. So we were building we were taking the ring up, right? And taking it to the hall. And I kept going like that to Dean Allmark. How you doing, mate? Is it okay if we can go over the match just now? Mate, so this is like, and 2 hours before the actual show starts, right?
Okay.
He's like, well, we need to get the ring up, mate. Then we'll go through it. But he's like, Pat, mate, don't worry, mate. You'll be fine. And so I'm like, see that gif from like Keen and Peele, where it's like the sweat dripping down his face, and he's like this, right? I was like that guy. I was like, oh no, I can't. In my head, I was like, I need to plan this now because I'm going to forget. So it was like the next thing. We're backstage, the ring's up, we're backstage, and Dean Allmark's putting on his kick pads, so it's like Dean on one of them, and Allmark on the other one, right?
I watched the match you had with him, yep, so I can visualize it.
Yeah. So it was, that's the one I'm talking about. That was the one at Craig Tara, not Hagerson, so you've corrected me. And we were in a tag match, and there was this big German guy, right? So he's like, I said to Dean Allmark, I went, Dean, I don't want to go in with this big fucking idiot in case he hurts me. I mean, so can I go in with you? He's like, aye, don't worry about it, mate. Don't worry about it.
So that's why the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the match, you guys were kind of like almost like didn't want to go in there. And then there was a spot in the match where, if I'm not mistaken, you guys had like counted to 3 to go back in the ring, and then you went in, and then he didn't go in the ring. I mean, I was like, what?
Then he gets the big guy grabs me and picks me up and shoulder presses me above my head, above his head, and he just goes.
Max Moran, oh my God, Max Moran was, and you're big. He was like twice the size of you. I mean, you're a lot bigger now, but at that time, oh my God,
I was only 17 years old.
Because that match was in 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I would have been 16. Or just coming up for. I would have been either just 16 or just turned 17.
Yeah, because I just that's when the match was. Because I remember watching it. I watched it last week, and that's what
so I was only like sitting at that point at 13.5 stone. right?
Okay.
I'm like 16 and a half now. But it's like the comparison to this guy just lifted me, boom, like that. And it was like I landed and I went, oh, I was like, Dean,
In
like,
context, in context, who lifted you up, Max Morant? I mean, he would have
yeah.
made Cheesy look kind of small.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it was like it was ridiculous, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now I'd whip his ass big time. It would be me that would be gorilla pressing him. I'd be like, come on. I'd be like, come on, Maxi Pad. Let's go and see what you've got.
Yeah, but that was a different when you. But that was a different time. That was a different Davey Blaze. Now,
Oh
kind of.
man. Now I'll just.
But you know what though? In a way, and like kind of to transition, and I obviously, again, I'm sure Dean will have a different memory, and maybe he'll chuckle when I ask him the same thing Monday. But you have transformed your body really over the past few years. I mean, you almost like I think now, and you said this, I'm pretty sure a few months ago, because I've spoke to you on and off here and there. And you popped in the shows in the past. I think you're in the best shape of your career right now. I mean, right now, the way you look, I mean, you could go on another huge run. Talk about that.
The T-shirt that I'm wearing just now is Spartan Protein. It's my best friend's company, his own company. So Spartan Protein, I've been taking since I've known and been friends with my mate Stuart Cassidy, owner of Spartan Protein. So if you go into the Facebook page of Spartan Protein, if you like their gym and your protein supplements, this quality standard high protein supplements is the best going in the UK. Spartan Protein, you'll get it on Facebook at the like page and the Instagram page. But it's like, that's like, my friend's protein company, Spartan Protein, has certainly helped me get into the best shape and still helped me get into the best shape. Obviously diet and that as well, but it's like his supplements is the quality stuff, and I've never taken any other supplements ever in my life since I've been, like, as long as I've been taking Stuart supplements from Spartan Protein. So Spartan Protein is definitely like helped me get there, and it still is every single way. Do you know what I mean?
But I feel like that the shape is important, and I'll get to comments in a second, but I think it's important because you are, like I said at the beginning, a true definition of a pro wrestler. Like a Johnny Storm, like a Paul Malin, a Martin Kirby, certainly Mr. Omar, Chris Ridgway, somebody else you've wrestled. I mean, you are like a pro wrestler. So, like, that's why it's really important for you to kind of continue to enhance your body and almost treat it almost like a machine, because you are going out there, you are wrestling all over the world in these different countries. And this has been your career. You said in your words that this is what you want to do. You're obsessed with being a pro wrestler. You've put your body through a lot, and you have to be able to do the things to keep that body going through. So maybe talk about that.
So, well, basically, like, I get brought up, like, my generation is the last old school talk generation.
Okay.
In British wrestling, like, so that's it done. You like, if the young generation coming through just now wanted to get taught old school and learn the old school kind of code and way, you would need to either grab guys like myself or a Johnny Storm or a Cheesy or a Kid Fight or a BT Gun, a Wolfgang,
Martin Kirby, I would throw in there.
Like, do you know what I mean? So it's like,
right,
you're not going to get it nowadays because the way that the wrestling scene and the industry has changed. Like, one, all the bullshit that's been going on, and two, it's like you won't get another last old school diehard kind of generation breed, because that's the reason why we're the last, was because back when you were coming, if you were coming through back in my day, in Cheesy's day, and like Kid Fight's day, Lionheart's day, BT Gun's day, all these different generations.
Ridgway, sure.
Like, like you would obviously have like guys like Ridgway, myself, and like all the ones that are well known now here. But it's like, see, like all your fucking idiots, your strobs, the people that have got no right being in this business, but they want to just call themselves professional wrestlers, which is fucking embarrassing. Like, they wouldn't. The only reason that they're here today is because they've come through this generation, which is soft, right? I'm going to say it how it is, because I've got nothing to look. Well, not that I've got nothing to lose, but it's like, I'm no two-faced. I'm not a liar. Like, I'll say it to everybody's faces. I'm not a coward. But I've got respect for the industry and the business and the passion that I love for what I do in professional wrestling. I don't treat it as a hobby. I treat it as a profession because it's my job. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I'm obsessed with professional wrestling. Like, I want to go to other places. I want to help other people go to other places. But it's like, I'm certainly not going to have like people come in and treat it as a hobby and like piss all over the top of the guys that came through before me and paved the way before me. For me to then pave more of the way for
Sure.
do you know what I mean? So it's like it just infuriates me at the fact is like you get all these people that want to call themselves professional wrestlers but don't actually want to do the work. They don't want to do the commitment and the graft, but they want to call themselves professional wrestlers.
Well, wrestling, I've always said this, and we're here with Davey Blaze, of course, the legendary Scottish Savage Davey Blaze, who next week will be in Denmark. We're also going to see him at Pro 2 Wrestling October the 22nd. Also, PBW as well in the middle of the month of September. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. But I've always said that wrestling is like an apprenticeship. You have to learn from somebody. It's almost like if I were to go to be a plumber, if I were to go to be an electrician, I have to go and learn from somebody because it's a very specialized craft. Wrestling to me is not like being a football player where, you know, you go to a field and you kick the ball, right? To be a wrestler, it's very, very different than anything else. So that's why if you get into it, you have to pay very, very, very close attention and kind of be serious, dedicated, because you're not only dealing with your own life, but the other person that you're going to be across the ring with.
And that other person is putting his trust and his life in your hands.
Absolutely, 1,000%.
It's not a fucking joke. It's serious. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it's at any given second. Doesn't matter if it's on a wee show or if it's on a big show in a working man's club or an arena. You would that any given second that you fuck up even the slightest, your ring positioning's off.
Oh, we've seen it all the time. I mean, accidents happen. D'Lo Brown and draws. I mean, you see Stone Cold and Owen Hart. These things happen. Big E, for example, can't wrestle anymore. I mean, things can happen.
Exactly, but it's like it's the accidents can be prevented. I mean, there you go. These accidents you just mentioned were guys that were like, OGs.
Yep, well trained, well advanced,
and the biggest company that there is in the world today. Right, serious accidents have happened there, and these are guys that take it well serious.
Oh,
but
sure.
It's like,
sure.
What I'm talking about is like when accidents happen on the UK scene or anywhere else, but I'm talking like on the UK scene, right? Because I've been involved in a few myself and I've been seeing it myself for over the years. And for being one of the people that's in the locker room that's kind of earned his way and like steps up if it's like kind of, no, I'll then fucking toe somebody's balls, or if need be, if one of my peers isn't doing it, right? I would then, like, I've said to people, I'm like, you're fucking careless, you're slipping, right? Like, you're just fucking walked up, you're not even giving a fuck about what's happened to the person that you're fucking. But it's like they don't care. They just want to be told that they're amazing. They don't want any criticism.
Yeah, because everybody there's a certain, and I'm not gonna name names, but there are a certain segment of wrestlers that have come in the UK and said, okay, I'm a pro wrestler now. I did training for 6 months. I've got a pro wrestling tees page. I've wrestled, 10 times or whatever it is, and I'm a pro wrestler now. But it doesn't work that way. Because guys like you, guys like the Big Cheese, guys like Martin Kirby, obviously Johnny Storm, Paul Malin, who I've had on. I had Dante Durden as like that. I mean, you can go up and down the list of people. Jam Dog, I would say, is another one I'd throw in there. That you guys have gone in there, and certainly Mr. Allmark can never forget about Mr. Allmark. But the point is, I mean, you guys have gone in there and paid your dues. You've learned your craft. You've gone in there.
Still paying the dues. Still paying the dues. You never stop.
I'll say it like this. I've been doing this for 5 years. I didn't just get yesterday to interview you. I was starting on a Skype conversation. You know, I was like, it took me time. I had to practice. I had to listen to podcasts. I had to talk to people. I had to write notes down. It's like anything else. You have to be able to learn. And we're learning a lot here from the legendary Davey Blaze. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. If you're on Sportswire Radio, you can give us a follow on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. We're also on Facebook at Sportswire Radio, Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And I want to wish a happy birthday to a Peter Richards. Peter has a birthday here today. He has turned, I believe, the age of 30. So happy birthday to you, Peter. I hope you have a great day out there. Thank you for your support and friendship. I know you have a podcast that we're playing here on sportnarium.com/player. It's a Bray Wyatt tribute show. So thank you, Peter, for all that you do for us. I hope you have a great day out there. But we're having a great day right now with Mr. Davey Blaze. And the Big Cheese has a comment for you, and I want to play it here for you. Future dream matches and previous best matches of your career.
Oh, that's a really good question. So previous best matches of my career, it's got to be the one when I was 16. I was in the Aggression, wrestling Kevin Nash at BCW, May 25th, 2011, at the event of Worlds Collide, and that was in the Commander Grand Hall. The other one was with myself and Stevie Boy at the SECC in front of 4,000 people when we broke the record, the British wrestling record of beating and selling out the biggest show since British wrestling on the independent scenes, and that was when we opened up the show. That Mick Foley was the commissioner, and I believe that was November 15th, 2015, at ICW Fear and Loathing 8, and I became the ICW0G champion. The next one was the year later, so Fear and Loathing 9. That was basically at the Ovo Hydro. It's 6,500 people.
Wow.
Where I then opened up the second biggest selling show in British wrestling to face Joe Hendry, becoming the only person, right, to open up two of the most record-breaking selling shows in British wrestling. Still to this very day, I hold that. It was a trailblazing moment, another trailblazing moment that I did in my career, and I still hold that record to this very day.
Wow.
There's been other great matches, but it's like I'd be here all day sitting.
I feel like the Joe Hendry one. You know, it's funny you said Joe Hendry, because I'm sure you get asked all the time about Kevin Nash and the Dudleys and MVP, but I mean,
don't get me wrong, but the best matches that I have had has been like Kid Fight, BT Gun.
I think Robbie X. I mean, Robbie X was a great match. I saw that match.
Robbie X had a good one with.
But those are the ones I feel like that. Those are the great matches. I mean, but to me, the feud you had with Hendry, that's the one that I would say maybe not the best matches of your career, but like the best feud in terms of like all the masses. Like think about ICW. You think about just the audience you guys attracted from like all around the world, the buzz that you had. I feel like that feud with Hendry, it kind of in a way put you both on the map in a sense. I mean, Hendry obviously, I mean, I know Hendry very well now in America because he was, in Impact, a superstar. But I think that feud, go ahead, talk about it.
I mean, we were already, I know what you're meaning, because we were all like every single one of us, like we were already on the map. Like we ICW, we made ICW. It was like, you don't get me wrong, but there's nobody ever bigger than the show, right?
Yep.
But it's like, to look at what ICW is now to what it was in the golden era. The wrestlers that are in the golden era made ICW compared to the wrestlers that did now. Right? But don't get me wrong, the product and stuff like that is still good, still great, but it's never going to be where it was. Do you know what I mean?
Because it was almost like there's an old adage in life: the right time at the right moment. That's
Yeah,
kind of the adage. It was that
exactly.
era, like in the middle of the last decade, that was the right time at the right moment. It was almost like how they say in life, the stars aligned. Everything aligned
Yeah,
for you and ICW to have all of that and all of that type of success. And where, again, the feud with you and Hendry is legendary. I mean, it's a
yeah.
legendary feud. And
I
Hendry
mean,
has
it's
gone
like
on to be,
ICW done a lot for my career.
sure,
But it was like I also, myself and the boys, we also done a lot for the company.
absolutely.
To take it with it to where we did take it. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I'm so thankful, I'm so grateful for what ICW has done to help me and build me who I am, to get me where I am and where I needed to be. But it was like, it's like sometimes you think to yourself, it was like, is it like, was it really worth it? Was I really thanked for what I done? But it's like I don't really give a fuck, because it's like I done stuff and I'm a part of history, and I've trailblazed moments with my boys, that kind of I'm still friends with just now, and we made history, and it's in the history books, and what we've done is we've cemented ourselves. Like we this is our dream job, and we're doing it, but we're making history at the same time and getting paid, and making, do you know what I mean, like making bank. So it was all good.
But let me ask you though a question, because you've obviously, again, you're the true definition of a pro wrestler. I know you before. I've had you on, but this is a different conversation than kind of the joke of a interview I had with you months back. Your name, you look up all those matches, all that stuff you did. It's got thousands and thousands of views. I mean, very few people that are pro wrestlers that I've had on, with the exception of maybe Cheesy, obviously, because he has the following on YouTube.
Yeah,
RPD would be another, and a guy here in California who's like you, travels around the world. A guy, Vito Fratelli, wrestled Alexander Hammerstone, who was the MLW World Champion for about a year, and kind of like you, a definition of a pro wrestler. I mean, do you get like asked a lot, or do you look at it and say, wow, I look back, I've got 9,000 views, 7,000 views, 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, because very few pros that haven't been in, the 3 or 4 major companies have that. You have that in your resume. What does that make you feel?
I mean, don't get me wrong. It makes me feel I'm grateful and I'm very appreciated, and I'm blessed. Now, I'll say it how it is, but it's like I'm still making those views. I'm still making all these kind of memories, and I'm still kind of making towns, if you call it, and like kind of making the matches.
Yeah, you
Like
can.
it wasn't like you kind of be all end all. Do you know what I mean? But it's like I'm sitting in a pub and I'm saying to somebody, "Oh, hey kid, hey sport, I used to do that back in the day." Do you know what I mean? And it was like they're sitting with me like, "I fuck right off." It's like I'm still doing that, but it's like because obviously it was only happening at the time, the moment in the time that it was happening with all the views, all the towns, and all the matches
Yep.
that we were doing. It was ICW, but it was like it's gone back to what I just said. It wasn't. It was the company that had made me in a way, right? But it
Right.
was myself and all the old school, like the golden era boys,
Yep.
that made the company. The people backstage, like even in the office, like production, the crew. It was all
Yeah,
what made
I was
the company.
gonna say, I mean, what the company had, I mean, it was like watching, and I have talked about ICW in the past. I know when it's come up because I've had different guys come on from Scotland. The Declan McCarthy would be an example of somebody that's been, from Scotland, has wrestled out there. Obviously, some of the guys in Arcadian come out there from Scotland. So I mean, I know a
Yeah,
little bit about the Scottish wrestling scene, but what you guys had, it was like watching one of the major companies. And that was really the advantage. You guys, like the work that was put into that, it was really everybody in the company. It was the locker room, especially because you were the guys out there that were putting your bodies on the line
yeah.
and getting
I
that type
mean,
of audiences. I mean, you guys had really like, something that I guess in a way it was kind of like what Ring of Honor was here in America, GCW now. It was just that following that just maybe even ECW back in the 90s where it was just that following. The word was traveling. It was
Yeah.
almost like I said, the
I mean,
stars
it's
were
like
aligning.
I I would happily, I would happily kill myself doing this. Like, I've got no problem at all because it's my dream. It's always what I've
Oh,
been
you
wanting to
said
ever
that
do,
not too long ago on
right?
social media. You wouldn't have
And
changed
it's
anything in your career. You said, you know what?
see
I've gone
that,
through a lot. I wouldn't change it.
yeah, you see that the money that you get paid, the fame, obviously the chicks, the nights, and the parties and the shit like that. I mean, I've grew up. I'm over that shit now. I've done it. I've got the t-shirt, right? But it's like that. All that kind of stuff is a bonus.
Sure.
See if it didn't come, it's still I would have still done it. But it's like what kind of infuriates me with some people is it's like you get told, oh, you're making the company great, you're building the company to this heights and blah blah blah, and it is like you're all going to wake up millionaires one day. You're all going to get a paid day, blah blah blah. No, never.
No,
Don't get
you
me
know what?
wrong. It was
In
like
wrestling,
you
it doesn't happen that
still
way.
got
No.
some great bonuses, but it was like once in a blue moon. But it's like if you really did mean everything that you'd said, granted, maybe no millionaires, but maybe confidently wealthy, like sitting comfortably, like getting appreciated that you're kind of breaking your back and you're killing yourself for building the foundations, like the golden era guys, like myself, Lionheart, Kid Fight, Jack Jester, BT Gun, Wolfgang, Noams, and your Andy Wilds, your Liam Thompsons, your Coffees. We were all the kind of Mount Rushmore. I know that Mount Rushmore's have only got 4 presidents, but we were the golden era boys, the ICW.
You were the guys that carried the company, absolutely.
Aye, we were the Mount Rushmore, right? Let's face it, we were great at what we done, but it was like there's been many people that have come in and tried to like kind of recreate the Bucky boys or try and think that and whatever, and it's not happened. But it's people have tried to come in and recreate and do other same gimmicks. It's not happened. But it's like what is happening now is it's just like, well, there you go. Then it just shows you that we only appreciated that the fact that you've got other gimmicks try to do the Bucky boys, or you've got other gimmicks that try to do that instead of it's like just kind of it's like what Vince McMahon done with like Razor Ramon and Diesel when they went to WCW. It was like he sent Kane out as Diesel, and it went
yeah, yeah. They had the other guy who was the basically Razor Ramon imposter. Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So it was just like I'm that much a pro where I just smile when I'm just like, even though it annoys me, but I just smile and I go like that. Well, I've done what I've done. It's still remembered. I've still got the views. People still know who I am. They still know that nobody else will ever be me and what I was in ICW.
Well, there only be one Davey Blaze. Listen, I mean, I've talked to a lot of people in 5 years. There would only be one Davey Blaze. But listen, wrestling, unfortunately, if you went and looked at the other sports, and okay, you had the success you had. Yeah, you would have definitely been very comfortably wealthy. You would have definitely had, probably not have to worry about the rest of these things. In wrestling, it's very tough.
Yeah, but like myself and the rest of the boys, we would have been. Do you know what I mean? If it was true to the word and what they were saying, do you know what I mean? But it was just like kind of throwing away words, like kind of leading along the bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So I was just
it's just again wrestling. With promoters, there's a lot of them out there. They run it like carnies. They run it and they really treat.
I mean, don't get me wrong. ICW wasn't ran like a carny show. It was a great dynamic show.
I'm not at all. I'm saying though that wrestling, because a lot of it is you guys are independent contractors.
Yeah.
Like there's no again in the other sports, the fame and notoriety that you've had, for example, right? Because you've been very high on the card, you've been in front of some big shows, you've had some success. If you were in another sport, you would have even boxing at the level of status that you've had, even if you were a boxer, you'd be comfortably well off. But wrestling, because of the independent contractor aspect of it, and kind of very much you're at the discretion of the promoter. And I don't want to get too into the weeds of that because I kind of don't, because I know you have to go out there and wrestle and do these things. But I mean, what are your goals for the rest of the year?
Well, the goals for the goals for the rest of the year is to finish out, obviously, all the bookings. I know that I've got a lot of new bookings and new debuts coming up. But it's like I want to try and close out this year with like kind of more than 5, in which I have done. So I've ticked that off. More than 5 debuts in new companies. Be in better shape at the end of the year. Be more healthy. And at least have 1 or 2 belts added to it for this year, getting into a new year. So, but future goals, I've just planned up a future goal, and I'm going to save up for going to the New Japan LA Dojo.
Okay. It's funny you said that. You're the second wrestler in 2 weeks that said the same thing to me. I had a guy, Brandon Castelli, talk about the same thing, going to that dojo. That's so ironic.
I was speaking to a friend of mine, Gabriel Kidd, and I was just saying to him, I was like, I know that you went there, but was it kind of how do you go about it? And he just said, he was like, just get in contact with him, mate. Obviously, he never went into like kind of full detail with like money and everything else, but he said it's a pretty costly trip. He said, but it'll be worth it. So I was like, obviously, I was speaking to Big Drew, Drew McIntyre.
Yes, I know you actually have a little bit of history with him. Yep.
Yeah, I was speaking to Big Drew about it, and I was just like, I'm going to go and do this and stuff like that. He was like, go for it, man. He's like, you're in dynamite shape. You're like you should be proud of yourself, and like definitely go for it. Why not? Do you know what I mean? So I'm definitely going to go for it, man. And that's like that's like a long kind of future, like kind of distant plan. Obviously, like I'm going to need to save up first, look into everything and every final kind of detail and stuff like that. But it's like the way that I always see it is like, it's like everything that I said that I've wanted to do and said I wanted to be, I've been out and I've conquered it. I've achieved it. Do you know what I mean? It's like along the way I've made the memories.
So, well, you got a lot of memories. But I also wanted to ask you, in a way, maybe because I do speak to a lot of wrestlers. Now, I'm not going to ask you more so about these moments with these different Hall of Famers and legends, but did you maybe, in a way, I know you've been in a room with Al Snow and Mick Foley and the Dudleys, Team 3D, if you want to call them, MVP. I mean, it's a long list. Nash, you mentioned. But did you ever ask them for advice? And if they gave you any advice, what that was like?
Mate, I've every single time. I mean, it was like I've even been like on the road with guys like Nick Aldis and stuff like that as well. Frankie Sloan guys, I've even met guys that Bobby Brookside, Johnny Moss. I actually met Finlay.
Oh wow! Well, that's a big one.
That was just like a quick hello and goodbye. I was just like, but it was like. I mean, guys, like you wrestled them and stuff like that, right? And now this is how you know that I'm taught old school, right? So what I always get taught was that you'll learn you'll learn how to become a professional wrestler and how to continue your craft. 40% of it in the ring, that's where you learn it. The rest of the other percent is where you'll learn it drinking at bars and sitting with the boys. Like that, and that's, mate, I'm not even lying. Like, it was that kind of, that saying is so true. Like, I can't stress it enough. And it's like, I've sat at bars with guys that sit and drink with Nick Aldis, getting to know him, sitting with Johnny Moss, Bobby Brookside.
Wow.
You know, like all these guys, like Big Drew, fucking, God, I mean, there's the Godfather, Oh, I mean, there's loads. It's like trying to think. Like, I've got photos on my phone. I've legit got photos on my phone. Mr. Kennedy and stuff like that as well.
Wow.
Like all these guys, mate, and Big Nash. I sat drinking 6 bottles of red wine with Big Kevin Nash.
Wow.
And it was like it was just so cool, so laid back, and I was just like, I kept calling him sir, and he was like, just call me Kev. And I was like, this is fucking, this is amazing. I'm sitting like fucking drinking red wine, like expensive $600 bottles, like red wine.
Wow.
Nash. It's
Wow.
like, well, I was like, what is happening here? What is going on?
That's probably a moment
like,
that you're gonna like remember when you're like 90 years old. Wow, Kevin Nash. I was in a room with him drinking red wine.
Mate, God, mate, it's like I cannot stress enough to this younger generation in PBW, in the PBW Academy or anywhere else. It's like I always stress: make sure that you ask for advice. Make sure that you get everything. You get everything from that person, like that peer. Like you suck everything, suck it out of them. Like learn, because it might be the last ever time that you will ever interact or work with them. Do you know what I mean? So make the most of it. Like, that's what I always say.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. As before I do get to closing thoughts, I could ask you thousands of questions, but I have to bring up your trainer because he has been with you. You've tagged with him. You're obviously still with him after all these years, and he's been in the business for 20 years, obviously, since 2000.
Yeah, 20 years, yeah.
And what has he meant to you?
He means that Kid Fight Ross Watson means everything to me. He is like legit. Like my mum and dad and my brothers like consider him a part of like our legit family, and it's the same with his family with me. Like he is like another big brother to me. I've got two big brothers, but like he's like another third big brother to me. It's like when I'm on the road with him, it's like he's my dad. It's like my traveling dad, and it's so funny. Like we're so alike, and we got on so well. Like I honestly, like I would give an arm and a leg for him. But see, when it comes to him with mass at Monopoly, that's when I put the foot down and I
I don't think I want to play you Monopoly. That's what I learned today more than anything else.
Mate,
it was cream last time. It was Monopoly this time.
Mate, we will get back to kid fighting, but just let me say this. I am a terrible loser, right?
Well, I had you on before 6 months ago, and I saw your personality come out then. So I would kind of expect that you would be a very terrible loser, to say the least.
I was like, I give up. I'm going to my bed. Ross is sitting there counting his money. Like this. But it was, Kid Fight Ross Watson has done. I love him dearly, man. Like he is his family to me. He means everything to me. He's a guy that has made me who I am today, and it's still helping me, and he's still kind of teaching me, and he always will. The like inside and outside of British wrestling, like he's got my back 110%. I've got his back 110%. Always will. Always. Like, then, now, forever. Like. It's getting a bit emotional here, but it's like I can't thank him enough for what he's done. Like he's certainly like done well by me, and he still is. And I've drove him insane countless times. And I like if there was anybody that needs an OBDE medal or whatever they're called, he needs about 10 of them, man, for putting up the knee. But it's like no, like. I love him, man, and I can't thank him enough. Like 1,000 thank yous isn't enough for everything that he's helped me, who he's made me be, and where he's got me to current days. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just hope that I make him proud.
No, I think you definitely are. Listen, I think that you're definitely what you've done in the ring, what you've done to transform your body, the places you're going. I mean, you've definitely done, I think, a lot in the ring, and that's why I've always liked you. I mean, I've got a chance now to really sit down and watch your work. When I knew you, like, from stuff here and there, I mean, I kind of saw some of the work, but now that I've got a chance to watch the work and see what you've done and really how you've transformed yourself, I think right now you're in a better peak than when you were in that golden age. Because I think I look at the shape, I look at the ability. That's what I think.
Absolutely agree. Like, I absolutely agree. Like, do you know something? Like, it's so funny that you've said that, Tom, because it's like you can be in the highest, best place ever possible, but it could be your lowest without even realizing it. Not that I'm saying that ICW was my lowest point, but I certainly did have.
But I also think you've learned a lot in the ring, and I think that over time, that experience, you were 20-something years old, right? You're a young kid still, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, you had the experience, sure. You started at 15, but I think now and again, you're always learning. I agree. Everybody always learns. You always have to learn for more. I mean, I would say the same about myself, and I totally agree. But I feel like you've also matured, you've evolved, you as overall, look, you always kind of evolve, right? I mean, at the biggest moment, it's like I interview a lot of musicians sometimes, and they sometimes have the peak, their highest selling record when they're really, when you think about it, 25, 26 years old. Your most, well-known notoriety moments might be at 23, 24 years old. But now I think that what you're doing now is going to lead to your best work. And that's why I always say for you, in kind of the mindset, the shape, and where you're going, I think the old adage rings true. The best is yet to come.
Yeah. And I appreciate that, mate. Thank you very much.
Of
I
course.
do appreciate that. And that's it, mate. Like, the best is yet to come.
The best is yet to come.
It's what you make of it.
Absolutely.
It can certainly change in the click of a finger. So it's just one of those things. It's like you need to kind of choose your next step carefully, and you always need to kind of wait for every door to open, for every opportunity to take.
Oh, I definitely think that the opportunities are going to be ahead. Now, I will ask you one or two more questions, and then we'll get to close. I know you're a very, very busy man, but I can't let you go without being asked about Patty McGinnis. I still cannot let you go. I know people are going to kill me for that. Cheesy's probably going to want to hear it again. And probably the CCW locker room is going to want to hear it again because Mr. Barris obviously is going to message me about this. So I have to at least ask you about that before we sign off.
Well, let me just say this, right?
I think this is a different one. I know you've done these other podcasts before, but because I think a lot of your peers and colleagues, and especially in that CCW locker room, I'm sure that some of those people in the locker room are going to want to hear me answer that question.
So here it is, right? So when I started out in British wrestling, right,
yes.
Years ago when I was like 17, 18,
mm-hmm.
my first legit job was a buff butler, right?
Okay.
So I was a butler in the buff, and I was doing all these nightclubs. I was doing all the big kind of fancy.
I had a friend of mine in New York who did that for a while, kind of.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it was great money.
I was going to tell you, the money was good. My friend did it through college. Yeah, absolutely.
Like a lot of this. And it was great. Smashing, right? But it was so we had application forms come in, right? So I was always told off Kid Fight that any kind of work that you do, like kind of movie work, TV work, it's all going to help you kind of get better, get your name bigger.
I've heard the same thing from Disciple. When Disciple came on, he did some acting as well in the past.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I mean, I've done major movies and stuff like that as well, but I didn't work fighting. But this was like my first big proper thing that got my name out there. So it was like I went and applied for it, right? And I got the audition. Now the audition was in the Novotel in Glasgow, right?
Wow.
In the town. Okay. And so I went proper like skinhead, like to the bone, right? Max Gillette 3 razor, boom, skinhead, right to the wind. I've got a 3-piece suit on with a lilac pink shirt, and it was silver pinstriped. I looked like a gangster. I looked like I was going to court for a murder, right? I swear to God. Right? So I had to be at this hotel for 9 a.m. And
Oh wow.
I got to the hotel, right? And I walked up to the reception. I'm like, hello, my name is David Coyle. I'm here for take me out, right? And so the woman went like that. Okay, you go to. She was like Polynesian or Indonesian or something like that, right? And she went, okay, you go to first floor uplift conference room. All the best. And I went, thanks very much, Hen. Up-a-ra. And I walked away. I don't even know what up-a-ra means. But I went, can't you? I went in the lift. And the next thing, there's a conference room that take me out auditions. And I've walked in, now I swear down, right? I've walked in here and there was 300 people, 300 guys. And
Wow.
I'm straight, right? And I've not got anything against gay people.
Sure.
These guys were fucking gorgeous. I mean, they look like great gods, right? And I swear to God, it was like Chris Hemsworth level of guys, right? So now I'm sitting depressed. I'm fucking fucked. I look like a space raider, Chris. I'm done.
Right? Well, now I think it would have been different, but then yes, when you were now I think it'd be different, but then sure.
So I go in, I do my audition, right? And then I was out with my mum. It was like kind of 3 months later. I was out with my mum, and we were in this shop in an arcade, and my phone kept going, and my mum was like, "You need to answer that. That could be taking me out." So it was like, I said to my mum, I says, "No, it's like an unknown number. So it's like unknown numbers you can't call back here."
Yeah, and, I get them all the time. Trust me, I get them all the time.
Aye. So it's like, I answered it, and the guy's like, "Hello, this is Dan from ITV. Is this Mr. David Coyle speaking?" And I went, "Yes. Who's calling?" Obviously, he's just said who's calling, right? So I went, "Oh yeah, yes. Who's calling?" And he's went, "Dan. It's Dan from ITV Studios. Take me out." And I went, "Hello, Dan, my boy. Hello, Dan. How are we here today?" And he's like, "Fantastic, David. Fantastic." Right? He's went, "I'm just phoning because I know you came in for the audition for Take Me Out." And I went, "Aye. Oh, I did. Aye. That was me. Oh, it was smashing. Aye. It was a great experience, right?" Now, until this very point, I'm going to make it clear that I did not know what the term shortlisted meant, right? So this guy Dan says to me, right? He went, "Just to let you know, that's you being shortlisted." And I didn't even let him finish. And I went, oh, God, the indignity. Oh, the indignity. I went, "You bastard." I went, right. And he's trying to keep on talking. And I went, no, Dan, you're all right. Look, I'll try again next year, but thanks very much. the guy's just buckled, man, right? And he's went, "David, do you know what shortlisted means?" And I went, "Absolutely not, mate." I went, "What does it mean?" And he went, "It means that you're through." So I went, "Oh, you're a dancer." Yeah. I went, "Yes." I was walking like Ric Flair in the shop, and my mum was like, "Oh, you need to stop that. You're embarrassing me." And I was like, "I'm through. I'm going to take me out, mum. I was like, Dan, you're the fucking man." Woo! So it was amazing. And then I went down. It was like the first class flights in British Airways, and you get picked up at the airport, London Airport, with the wee chauffeur. So it's the wee guy with the black suit, black tie, white shirt, with the wee hat, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got the sign. And it's like, "ITV, take me out, Mr. Coyle." So I've walked out, bodybuilder swinger vest on, shorts, right? Looking like a right indie wrestler, like fanny pack the lot.
Yep, I remember it.
I'm like, "Coyle, holding my bag, right? I'm like, "My man, here we go." I'm like, "No, Lighty." And the guy's just standing looking at me with his sign, and I went, "No, Lighty, aye, right." I'm like, "Right, so wait, so where are we going, that, mate?" I went, "Miss Paddy McGuinness, like." I went, Is he an arsehole? Yeah. And he went, Mr. McGuinness is actually waiting for you at studios. Please get in the car. And I went, okay, sorry. Yeah, so it was like, I get in the motor. We went to the studios. But I went to the hotel and I put everything in my hotel. And then I went to the studios. So they flew me down on the Wednesday. I wasn't doing my recording until the Friday. But I was like the last episode of season 6. Right?
Oh, wow.
So they basically, what had happened was if you're kind of known at the time and you've got a background following of a sport or of a model, then you get paid more, right? I was the highest paid guy out of season 6. I get paid 190 quid. I get paid, right?
Wow.
And here's the funny thing: they give you €60 to go away to Spain with if you go to date. Right?
Wow, that's actually pretty good.
And I go to date. Me and the 3 other boys go to date. But Paddy McGuinness is amazing. Like, he's such a legend. Like,
yep.
I used to watch the show. Kid you not, right? And I used to slag everybody. That came on the show. So I used to be like, right, and that's Run DMC Walk This Way. They come down the lift, right? And I'd be like, Fanny, look at this absolute reject. Ha ha. Right? There's me in the lift. Right? So in my head, it's like, I can just hear Paddy McGuinness calling like that, single man, reveal yourself. Right? And I'm like, I'm talking to the guy who's got the walkie-talkie and he said, right? And I'm like, mate, I think I'm taking a heart attack. And I was like, like proper wrestling selling, mate. I was like, I pure get myself worked up. And he's like, mate, start dancing. So I start giving it this, right? Like that.
Well, I did know you were a break dancer. That I knew.
No, mate. See that was a lie. I did not know how to break dance. I did not know how to spray paint. And they certainly called me out on it. It was hilarious. But I got the date and we went to the Isle of Fernandos. And that was it.
Oh, you know what? Listen, it was an interesting experience. And again, I'm sure you get asked about it. You'll continue to get asked about it. And that's why I wanted to at least, ask you that, obviously, before we moved on here. So I'm going to ask you then this last question before I get to close. And I could ask you thousands of questions. I realize that, but I know you're a busy man. So I want to ask you then, for those that are going to watch you in the ring coming up here in some of these new places between now and certainly the month of November, you are booked in a lot of places. What can we expect from the Scottish Savage, Davey Blaze?
It's a great question. I would just say, expect the most utterest, craziest, Scottish, most savage guy you will ever meet ever in your life, with the most dashing, most handsomest trimmed black beard. I mean, I know I've not got a black beard now, but that's because I shaved it off.
I was actually waiting for that because I was like, oh boy, he's got the goatee now. I'm like, I was kind of waiting for the beard.
I took my clippers, right, and I was like just shaving it like in here. And I took the whole tap in my mustache off. It was the same as yours. I look like Wolverine. In fact, wait, I've got a photo.
I noticed.
Wait there. Wait there, right. Where are we? So there's a photo. He's definitely here. Right, there we go.
Oh wow! I think I just see it. Yeah, I see it. I see it. I see it. I just see it. Yep. Yeah, I saw it.
Aye. So I was like that, man. I can't walk out like this because somebody walked past and says I look like a pervert, and I went, no, I need to shave this off. I need to do. So I was like, right, that's it, gone, boom, off. So aye. So it's just look out for a big handsome guy, big handsome guy with jet black beard, aye. And just look out for like other companies that I'm on. CCW, Premier British Wrestling, British Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
I mean, Top Rope Wrestling, Dance Wrestling.
Scotia, we have what main Event Academy, I think, also, right?
Yeah. A lot of good Scotia Pro Wrestling as well. Like
that was my next one.
Other companies. Just keep an eye out there. And I hope you enjoy this interview, guys. I hope you've took a lot away from it. And thank you for the questions.
I appreciate that. And I want people to follow, obviously, you on Instagram as well, and Facebook. You can certainly do that. Very simple, straightforward, to the point. Davey Blaze UK on Instagram. Also Facebook. Check him out. He is going to be in a number of places. And this was an interview that we really have had to get in the book here for a while on Sportswire. Glad we could do it, because this is it. Davey Blaze is going to be in Denmark, so you're not going to see him for a while. So this is it. And he's going to be working a lot really between now and the end of the year. So if I didn't do this interview now, I wouldn't have did it. I could still ask you thousands of questions, but I realized you only had so much time. It has been a tremendous honor. You certainly always deliver every time you come on the Sportswire. I know we'll definitely talk again when things kind of settle down. You kind of get ready maybe toward next year, and we'll talk about some of the other things, and especially you and CCW. And thank you as always. Safe travels out there to Denmark. I'm really looking forward to more. And the Tribal Cheese says he loves the interview tonight, so that's always good if the Tribal Cheese loved it. And I'll certainly make sure that Mr. Allmark hears some of the things here. And he also gives me a message, the Big Cheese, that he really enjoyed the interview privately. So I want to thank the Tribal Cheese for those kind words. But thank you, my friend, as always. Keep up the great work. And I definitely hope to see you soon. And go get him out there in the ring.
I will do. Tom, thank you very much, and stay safe yourself, brother, and keep doing well. I love the show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Your endorsement means something. So if there's anybody else's endorsement, it's not Dean Olmark's endorsement that means anything. It's not the Tribal Cheese's endorsement that means anything. It's the Scottish Savage Davey Blaze. Oh, I'm kidding. We love everybody here at Sportswire. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm your voice of all wrestling, the man behind Sportswire Radio. And if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you go back to your regularly scheduled programming. If you're on YouTube and Twitter, I'll be back about 10:15 p.m. Eastern time here in New York. I'll talk all things related to the world of sports, but I'll be back here Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern time, 6 o'clock British Standard Time, with the legendary Jumping Dean Olmark. Dino himself will be here. He also just celebrated a birthday. He turned the big 4-0. Davey Blaze turns the big 3-0 next month, but Mr. Olmark has got him beat and some, because Mr. Blaze is certainly going to be a young whippersnapper still forever. But thank you, everybody. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And thank you so much again